Hello, everybody. Welcome to another TFE Live. This is our show number 218 for the 10th of September, 2019, the Tuesday, on a beautiful Tuesday here in the Marina District of San Francisco. Julia, I trust you are well.
I am, and the sun is shining, and it's warm.
It's summer has returned to San Francisco, although it's been a pretty nice summer, actually, considering. And I know, Julia, that standing by in Newport, Rhode Island is past Commodore, immediate past Commodore, the esteemed Phil Lotz, standing by in Newport, Rhode Island. Hello, Commodore.
Hello, Tom.
Thanks for joining us. We're going to have an update from Phil on the Invitational Cup, on the Melges IC37, which Phil played a key role in getting that class off the ground. It's now growing wildly, burgeoning, terrific success story. And while we're at it, we might get Phil to say something about the America's Cup Challenge, AC36 Challenger from New York Yacht Club, American Magic, and he is fully branded. Looks great, Commodore. We'll be back to you in a second. So while we're, let's get right down to it, Julia, shall we? I just want to thank Britt Ward, who was with us on Tuesday. That show's had a lot of views. Britt Ward, the senior vice president and the senior chief naval architect at Far Yacht Design in Annapolis, Maryland, was with us. As they say, that show had a lot of views, even more than usual, and we appreciate him, Britt, coming on very much indeed. We, of course, talked about the America's Cup, so if you haven't seen the show and his analysis on the boats, both the boats that we have seen in public so far, Emirates Team New Zealand's, and, of course, the new New York Yacht Club boat, AC75. We're just calling B1 until they have a christening or naming ceremony. But it was great to have Britt on, and today, as I mentioned, we have the immediate past Commodore, Phil Lotz of New York Yacht Club, will join us live via Skype in a moment. He's standing by in Newport, Rhode Island. Future guests, we've got a continuing kind of cool list coming along. Ben Remmacher will be with us on Friday. He is the class manager of the 3 Olympic classes, the NACRA 17 foiling catamaran, and the 2 skiffs, the 49er and the 49er FX, the men's skiff and the women's skiff. And Ben will be with us on Friday. A week Tuesday, 2 weeks from today, Sarah Douglas, the young laser radial sailor, is one of the top Olympians in North America from Canada. She will be with us. Spoke with her at some length this morning. She's just back, of course, from Enoshima. And then on Tuesday, October 1st, we'll have Richard Gladwell live from New Zealand. Richard, of course, the New Zealand editor of sail-world.com and one of the great journalists today in the sport, and he will be updating us on all things America's Cup, particularly from his viewpoint in Auckland, New Zealand, the home of the 36th defense of the oldest trophy in the sport, which will take place in the early months of 2021. The Prada Cup, the trials will be in January, February of 2021, and then that's the Challenger Selection Series, now known as the Prada Cup. And then the match is scheduled to start on the 6th of March between the winner of the Prada Cup, the Ultimate Challenger, and the defender, Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron's Emirates Team New Zealand. Okay, kicking off in Newport today is the Rolex New York Yacht Club Invitational Cup in these brand new IC37s. It's a terrific event. This is the 6th edition. It's a Corinthian event. Everybody, or most, I guess everybody in the boat is a technical amateur, what we call Cat 1 in the sport, Category 1. Phil will fill us in on more of that in a moment, but I thought we should take a quick look at this cool video about the Invitational Cup, which just was filmed yesterday, and Stuart Struley, the esteemed comms director at New York Yacht Club, sent to me this morning. Enjoy.
We are in Newport, Rhode Island, in USA, the most beautiful yacht club in the world.
Looking forward to a fantastic event. Organisation is brilliant, the weather's great, sunny.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, we're ready. So ready. It's been a great day sailing now, and we're ready to start the regatta.
Well, let the action begin as the Rolex New York Yacht Club Invitational Cup is underway. Today's the first day of racing. Commodore Lotz in Newport, Rhode Island, congratulations to you and the club on this 6th edition of what is, by all accounts, a very popular and very cool Corinthian event.
Well, thanks, Tom. Thanks for having me. Yeah, the IC is getting off today. Had a late start, probably just started, I think, their first race about 40 minutes ago. A long delay here today, but the rest of the week looks pretty windy, looks pretty good.
So what, it's 4:30 there now, but you're late arriving sea breeze?
Yeah, it was very light all day, almost no wind this morning, and I think they delayed on shore for a bit and went out, and sea breeze has found its way. I'm looking out the window here. It's a little southeast, kind of light, but they're off on race 1.
Nice. Well, give us the thumbnail. Give us the sketch of this really cool event in its 6th edition.
Well, it is our first edition in the IC37. It's also our 175th, so it's a big year. It's a great year to launch the IC37. I wouldn't say we planned it that way. It's coincident that we launched our new boat on this auspicious occasion of this year. We have 20 teams. We have 3 U.S. teams. North American teams anyway, 3 U.S. and Canadian, and the rest are from places all over the world, Japan, Argentina, certainly a few teams, your share of teams from Europe, and then of course we have teams in Royal New Zealand. Yacht Squadron is here, and Freshwater Bay is here, and who else? And Royal Sydney is here.
Quite an impressive lineup of some of, if not many, of the world's finest and most competitive yacht clubs. Former winner, the defending champ, is Southern Yacht Club, if I remember well. And you've also got Royal Canadian back, who has won it in the past. And they are, at least from what I'm hearing and seeing, are both tipped to be among the top teams in this event.
Yeah, I think both teams have been here a little bit this summer. They've gotten chartered the boats, put some members on New York Yacht Club members on some boats, and got out and got some practice. So they look pretty sharp when they were sailing. The other teams have had the boats for about over a week now, and it's going to be hard to tell. Those were the early success stories, but it's going to be a long week.
Commodore, tell us about the IC37. Is the formal name now Melges IC37? It's gone through a couple different morphs.
The Invitational Cup 30, it's the IC37, presented by Melges. They are our marketing agent for the boat. The Yacht Club put the boat together. About 2 years ago, I announced it in May of 2017, I guess it is now. And we went out and solicited about 9 designers. We gave a pretty specific RFP. We ended up getting 17 submissions, which was quite unexpected, but we got through it all, and we chose a Mark Mills design. We were pretty tight on our specifics as to what we wanted the boat to look like and how we wanted it to perform. We had the idea that it was going to be used for the Invitational Cup as well as a lot of club racers, and so we wanted it to be sporty, but also to be a little forgiving so that new crews and amateur crews could come on and learn the boat quickly.
So you've built how many total? The club has 20, obviously for this event, and yeah. How many more than 20?
Yeah, the club has 20, and what we do with the boats is we charter them to our members. We've had a 5-race charter program this year, plus 2 practice weekends, so teams from the club, 20 teams from the club, 19 teams actually, use the boats this year. And that'll be an ongoing thing year in and year out. Obviously 20 boats for the Invitational Cup. And then we've sold so far about 11 or 12 boats. 9 have been delivered, and there's a few more in the pipeline. The class is growing. We have had significant interest on the West Coast. In addition to that, the Canada's Cup has chosen the boat to run their event in September of next year. They're expecting, I think, 3 or so boats from the U.S., maybe 3 boats from Canada, at least have declared so far. And more recently, over the course of the summer, the boat has performed quite well in some handicap sailing, PHRF, ORC, and IRC. And on the back of that, we've had strong interest now in the UK. We've got a few people who have stepped forward to volunteer to run the class. They put a schedule together, and they're now trialing. They have a boat that they can use over there to take people sailing on, and they're starting to drum up interest with owners in the Cowes area, in the Handful and Whittington and Cowes.
I think you did a very smart thing. This, of course, all took place on your watch. Phil Lotz is the immediate past Commodore of New York Yacht Club. And you announced this, 2 years ago? You said May of 17?
15, yeah.
Yeah. And you originally started building the boat in SoCal, in Southern California, at Westerly Marine, and now you're also building it in the UK.
Yeah, Westerly's building the boats, and we've hired outsourced to Fiber Mechanics to build a boat in the UK. We looked at what we needed, the 20 boats and the time frame we needed, plus we were getting a lot of interest from other owners in the United States, and we thought maybe we should have another builder. And we have 10 at the club from Fiber Mechanics and 10 from Westerly.
Well, we've had Alan McGarry on the show. He of the Royal Canadian Yacht Club, chairman of their Canada's Cup committee for next year. And I hear, so my friends in Detroit tell me that there is a crispy new IC37 at Bayview Yacht Club. How about, and that's starting to sound like a Canada's Cupper to me. Do you have any inside scoop on that?
Yeah, I believe that's the intent there. Although that owner is also going to be participating in our winter series. We're putting together a winter series in Lauderdale this winter, a regatta in November, a regatta in late January, and a regatta in March. So we expect for that series about 6 to 8 boats.
Cool. And then how about on the West Coast? What's going on? Because I'm also starting to hear from our friends at Long Beach Yacht Club, there is some, I don't want to overcharacterize it, but I'm hearing some people are saying, those Cat 37s, the Catalina 37s, Julie, we talk about those boats all the time. They're getting a little long in the tooth. And do you think there's a possibility that Long Beach Yacht Club will replace their aging fleet of Cat 37s with IC37s?
Well, I can't speak to that. I haven't. Have not had any discussion or any inquiry on that. But we do have an owner out there who's got a boat. He's done well in some local sailing, and he's bringing his boat east this winter to do some of the winter series as well. So cool. We've got boats spread around, and we've got a fair amount of interest. It's all coming through Melges. They're the marketing director and marketing arm of the fleet. I'm myself class president, and we have a fairly strong class organization at this point, both members on the board from the UK and from around the United States. So we're ready to go, and we've got, I think, a pretty good schedule for this winter and next year, and looking forward to a lot of good one-design sailing.
Well, congrats on all that, and I'm so pleased to see this kind of activity in a larger boat. It's obviously a one design, and it's a strict one design, isn't it, Phil?
Yeah, it's very strict. There's a number of elements of the boat that we think are unique. Being a strict one design is one of them, but also we have a very limited sail plan, main, jib, and spinnaker. You can only buy from one supplier, so there's no sail design wars going on. Strict limit in how many sails you can buy in a year. Obviously, the Cat 1 requirement. We also require on board at least 2 members of the opposite sex if you have 8 crew. And we've seen, obviously, majority are 6 men and 2 women, but I think this summer we had one boat the other way. So that's been a lot of fun.
What's good for the goose is good for the gander. So the opposite sex, you got to either have 2 females or at least 2 males on the boat. And another great rule, and I've been watching the class, I've been seeing the pictures come. Hannah Knoll, who was with Melges, I guess is now with Harpoon, with Harkin. and the esteemed Stuart Struley, with whom I communicate regularly, as you know, has kept me posted. And full marks, bravo Zulu to the club and to the class. And any last thoughts on the Invitational Cup, Commodore, before we move along to the my favorite topic, and perhaps yours, the American Cup boat race?
Well, I don't know. I'm looking forward to this week. It's been a long time coming to have these boats here. We're feeling pretty good about the boats. I think the sailors are pretty excited. Looking like tomorrow and the rest of the week could have some breeze, and these boats will be a lot of fun and a lot of breeze. So looking forward to that.
Okay, well, speaking of the America's Cup and some breeze, you had a lot of breeze there in Newport, Phil, in the last few days as Hurricane Dorian went up the coast, scraped the coast, as Mark Michelson predicted on our show a couple of weeks ago, and that has delayed the launch, or did delay the launch, the splashing of your club's new AC-75, which is now in the water, at least according to what I'm seeing from various spy photos and talking to a couple of the senior serious people in your team. But let's go look, Phil, at what happened in New Zealand on Friday morning. We covered this extensively on our show. You probably have seen these pictures and then some, but this was the first official photo that they released, side-on shot at their team base in the Viaduct in Auckland. And of course, it's the name of the boat, it seems quite appropriate, is called the Porpoise, and in Maori. Very interesting asymmetrical foils, and I don't know if you want to make any comments in addition to what we already had from this little section on the bottom of the boat is interesting too. You can see the inset in the cradle. And Phil, do you want to make any comments on behalf of your team or yourself as we look at these photos?
You know, we really don't really have any comments per se. I mean, we're head down. This is a pretty strenuous time in the program, right? We're launching Boat 1 in our first campaign in 17 years, so we've got our head down. We're proud of what the team has done so far with our boat. We're concentrating on getting it ready and getting in the water as soon as we can and go sailing. So I'm sure over time everybody's going to have an opinion on each other's boats, but right now we're pretty focused on moving forward and sticking to the plan.
I see our longtime friend John Mendez is watching. Hello, John, as are lots of other people, Commodore, as we look through a couple of the other shots that have come in since Friday of this is still the New Zealand boat. And then they did tow test it over the weekend and into this week. And it's been interesting to see them tow test it with the wings extended. They never expected, at least in the initial design, I'm told, and I read and hear, that they never expected to do this configuration where the wings parallel to the water and the foil arms with the winglets out at the end of the foil arms. But this is apparently the way the boat is stable under tow and when it's not sailing in a foiled condition. And when they had the foil straight down, Phil, you remember in some of these test boats that we've seen, both your boat, the Mule, and the boats of Ineos Team UK, Sir Ben Ainslie, and also even and especially the Prada boat, Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli, when the foils are straight down, it was supposed to give the boat stability, and the thing was, well, these things were rolling over. Yeah. Are you surprised to see this shot?
Not totally. I think everybody's experimenting. There's a lot to learn on these boats, and I'm sure everybody's going to go through all the paces in terms of what's stable, what's not, how to tow them. Just even getting the boats off the dock is an adventure. So I'm sure everybody's going to go through various configurations.
Yeah, when Terry was here speaking at St. Francis earlier this summer, he said that, frankly, one of the most exciting, if not scary, moments on a day's sail is the spiking of, this is the Mule, the test boat, spiking the tow and the stability or lack thereof after they get off the tow and are no longer being pulled by the towboat and have to assume their own stability in the yacht. We've also now seen this tow testing video from New Zealand, and I think this is from right outside the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron. Let's have a look at this.
Commodore, the rear. So they're just towing it. Towing it quite fast. Yeah. So. Okay, so we'll go into on that table. Yeah.
You see it's up on the foils.
Mm-hmm.
The speed limit's 12 knots in the harbour where they are now, so yeah.
So one of our FOSI, one of our friends of Sailing Illustrated, sent us this video, and they apparently continued to do that tow testing. And again, if you want to make any comments, go ahead. Then Julia's got questions galore.
No, I'm not. Not surprised. That's towing it, seeing what's happening, how to make it work. That's part of the game, and it's their first boat in the water, so it looks like they're starting at the right part.
Well, it's cool stuff, and as interesting as the Kiwi boat was, we'd actually seen your boat, the New York Yacht Club's American Magic, in this shot, which I think I had the first access to this shot and used it on Sailing Illustrated. Quite a different bow treatment, as we've seen. And I know you're not going to comment on this, but I'll run through the shots. Then we have this shot from the stern. And again, if any of you didn't see our show on Friday when we had Britt Ward on from Far Yacht Design, had a lot of interesting observations about both boats, and especially how flat, almost scow-like the front end of this boat is, your boat, Commodore. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, was it Sunday that it was first splashed?
Yeah, I think it might.
Julie, I'm coming to you with some questions.
Yeah, about a day or two ago, I think.
Yeah, it was. I think it was Sunday that it was splashed, and the boat obviously is similar looking. If you were not a keen observer, you might say, well, other than the colors, they're pretty similar with the sheer, rounded sheer, and the boat looks more like, as Britt Ward said, more like an airplane fuselage than a boat. But it's interesting to see the relative similarities. The mast, as you can see here, and you'll see in a subsequent shot, the mast is even aft of the foil arms on both boats. So the rig is well aft, and I think a lot of people found that interesting, as did this treatment on the bottom of your foil arms with the foils, and it looks like a bullet nose or on a big freighter where you see the bulbous bow, and some people it reminded them of a goose, particularly me, I think, reminded us of a goose in flight looking at, and I'll go back, that treatment on the bottom of your foil arms. That's raised a few eyebrows. Any comments about that, Commodore?
I don't really have any comments, no.
Okay.
The story behind would be good.
Okay. We'll watch the developments. As I said, does it look to you like a goose, or am I on a bit of a wild goose chase?
It sort of does look like a goose, but I'm quite sure that's not where it came from.
I talked to Terry. I've talked to Terry Hutchinson once or twice over the past weeks, and he said, and I actually ran a little segment and quote from him a week or so ago. He says that Airbus has played a huge role, has played a really big role, and I didn't realize, you must have known well before, but apparently Airbus is now building planes here in the U.S., down in what, Alabama?
Down south, yeah. I'm not sure the plants. May have a couple, actually.
And I guess they're employed 4,000 plus people.
Yeah, they have a big operation in the U.S. And,
so they've been quite a good partner.
They've been a great partner. They're really quite excited about being part of it. They have been from day one. I think they know what they like to get out of these things, and they're put their resources behind it. Everything promised and then some. And it's been great. It's been a great partnership.
Cool. Okay, well, here's a shot now of the boat on either Sunday or Monday. I think this is also from Sunday, of the boat actually out tow testing as well with a rig, unlike Royal New Zealand's boat, Emirates Team New Zealand's boat, which tow tested, as we've seen, without a rig. And I'm hearing from knowledgeable people that your team is so far advanced in terms of all that you have learned from the Mule that we should not be surprised if we see your team out hoisting sails and foiling around Narragansett Bay sooner than later, whereas Team New Zealand, probably having not built a test boat, is going to have to do a lot of back and forth and up and down testing before they have the confidence to hoist sails. Any comment on that?
You know, I can't comment on Team New Zealand's where they're at and what their plan is, but we're on track. We're on plan. We're very happy about it. Really proud of the team. They've been their head down, and yeah, our plan is to go sailing sooner rather than later. I don't think that's going to surprise anybody, and we're looking forward to getting some testing done this fall until we move down to Florida in late October, early November.
So that's what I understand is the plan, is that the team will once again winter in Pensacola. You're going to sail for the next couple months, September, October, before the weather starts to get pretty dodgy in Newport, all the years we lived there as well. You could sail, Columbus Day weekend. Sometimes it might snow the first or second weekend in October. But come October, the end of October, I guess you're going to pack up and move to Pensacola once again, from what I'm hearing, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, it's a little tricky. It's not so much the weather here, but making sure we transition down to Pensacola at the right time, not too early. It's still hurricane season. We missed some big ones last year. So get down there in Pensacola. It's a wonderful spot to practice. We're looking forward to it, and then be there until we have to go over to Italy.
Okay, well, we want to welcome, we have a lot of folks on here, Phil, as you can imagine. David Robinson, Tom Fishbeck, Clark Chapin, Alex Kent, a lot of these names will be familiar. Jody Shields, who we've come to know and had him on the show, he is the commentator for Sail GP, Australian commentator. He gets up early in the morning to watch the show, and we welcome him again. He says, welcome to Sailing Where Dolphin Boats, the nickname, actually the formal name of the Kiwi boat. Dolphin boats, porpoises, cats, nosedives, and lasers want to be Ilkas. Laser clad. Margarita Marshall, John Marshall's wife. You know Margarita Bottini, I'm sure. Commodore Bill Wingrove, John Winston. Bill Wingrove's down at Davis Island Yacht Club. They're looking forward to seeing you back down in Pensacola, their neighboring town there on the Panhandle. Steve Suchia, who is the president of the America's Cup Hall of Fame, is watching, of course, and many, too many to mention here. Lots of thumbs up, Commodore, for this. Hannah Lee Knoll is saying hello from Wisconsin. Can't wait to watch the Rolex New York Yacht Club Invitational Cup live broadcasts over the next few days. Tell us, Phil, before I forget, tell us about the broadcast, because you've got Tucker and Andy, Tucker Thompson, Andy Green, and Icarus, who I think are Icarus, a terrific broadcast outfit. You're live streaming this starting, I believe, tomorrow?
Yeah, we'll start tomorrow on the live stream. We've done that for the last couple of times. It's been wildly successful. We get people in, overnight from Australia and New Zealand. Andy and Tucker do a great job. It's a lot of fun. They have fun with it, and it starts tomorrow. I'm gonna do a couple hours with them tomorrow afternoon and see what it's like to sit on that side instead of being on the boat. So it should be fun.
Oh, good. We'll tune in. I'll be watching it, of course, here. And as will a lot of when we promo this stuff, a lot of our viewers then, we've noticed with St. Francis's live streams and others, will go have a look. Philo Roland is checking in from Monaco. That's a new name, Julia, whom we haven't seen, where he says it's been raining all day. And, of course, we get people, that's about as far east as we have, Phil, because it's pretty late in the evening. It's plus 10, plus 9 there, so it's almost 20. It's 22:30. It's 10:30 over there. And then as far west as Wangi, sometimes even Perth, which is in the middle of their night. Bernie Stegmeyer is in Switzerland, and Waiheke Island. Andrew Ferguson's on Waiheke Island, that beautiful island just a few miles away from downtown Auckland. Scott McLeod, your marketing director, is watching, probably checking up on you, Commodore. Our old friend Scott McLeod, the commercial director for American Magic. Let's see who else of note here. Ted Ryman's checking in from Cape Town. Hello, Ted. And John Turgliato. Hamish Ross is watching. Hamish is going to be on the show, too. We just have to pin down a date, maybe the week after next. Hamish, of course, a lawyer, a doctor lawyer who has extensive experience in the America's Cup, and he's going to come on, and we're going to do some talking about the rules and the deed of gift, of which he's one of the great living experts. And Hamish is saying, I'm enjoying the Sailing Donnie and Marie show. I don't think he's talking about Phil and me, Julie. I think that's the Donnie and Marie show. But maybe he's talking about my weight loss because
Yes.
do you see those weight loss commercials with those two characters? Phil, I'm on the carnivore. I'm eating nothing but meat and fish and dairy and cheese, and everybody's making fun of me. I'll probably die tonight, Sarah Douglas is watching. Sarah, we're looking forward to having you on live the week. I think it's the week after next. She'll be heading. Sarah Douglas, look her up, Commodore. She is a young Canadian laser radial sailor, one of the top laser radial sailors in the Olympic world today. She's Canadian. I think Jamaican originally. I think she's from the Caribbean, but a Canadian, and one of the top single-handed sailors in North America. Maybe one of our best North American prospects for medals. She's coming to watch, probably to support Royal Canadian, cheer for Royal Canadian. Matt Knighton, hello to you. Jody Lotz. Jody Lotz is watching, Commodore. Bill Wingrove says, nothing against the IC37, but keep the the Catalina 37s. You can't rub during a good match race start with the IC37s. Well, Phil, I don't think that's true. I think these boats are pretty robustly built, aren't they?
Yeah, they're pretty robust. We're expecting to use them for all kinds of things, and obviously Canada's Cup is going to use them for their match racing. We'll probably do a little match racing over time in these boats. I wouldn't be surprised if we do a little big boat team racing at some point. But for right now, it's...
Hang on. I'm going to push the replay button here. Phil just broke some news, I think. Go ahead, Commodore.
No, I was just saying, with the Canada Cup guys using for their match race, and that's a pretty important match race. And then I wouldn't be surprised if we match race with them or even team race with them at some point over time. There's a lot, once you own 20 big boats like this, there's a lot of good things you can do.
We should mention that New York has been a leader in team racing. You run the Morgan Cup, you run several other events, intra-club and inter-club, and I know St. Francis goes every chance they get, and other clubs from around the country. Why has New York embraced team racing? What is so cool about team racing that you're even considering doing it in the IC37s?
Well, I think team racing generally, we've been doing it for quite a few years now, probably 30 years, and it started out as club-on-club events, single events against our friends overseas, Royal Thames in particular, and there were some other regattas, and then we had a one-on-one with St. Francis. So it grew because I think we thought it was two things. One, it was a great event for clubs. It gets club members together to go sail against other clubs, and it really does well to help the spirit of the club itself. Two, there were a lot of young people coming up from college who had a lot of experience in team racing, and by offering a pretty robust team race program, it helped us recruit and keep interested the young sailors who were just coming out of college and in their young career days. So it's very helpful. We've gone so far now. We have 21 sonars that we use to run all those regattas in, plus we do a little bit of fleet racing, but primarily we run some inter-club team racing, team race, New York Yacht Club team race champs, and then as you mentioned, the Morgan, which is sort of the varsity sport, the Ehman Masters for 45 and older, and then Grandmasters, which is 60 people. You have to be 60 to steer, and that's been pretty successful over the last 5 or 6 years as well. That's grown almost in every club we compete with.
Excellent. And Jack Everett is mentioning, he said, I'm here late, but did you mention that the Askew brothers have entered an IC37 in the Rolex Big Boat Series? Is that true? Do you know, Phil?
I haven't heard that. I have to be honest with you. I haven't heard that. It could be true. But I have to be, caught me out on that one, Tom. I'm not sure.
Is there one here in the Bay Area that you know of?
I know Askews have one, but I'm not sure where that actually got delivered to.
Okay, well, I'll check. Julia, remind me, we should go over there and have a check on that because that'll be interesting, something for us to cover as well. But that's what one of our FOSI, Jack Everett, is saying, and he is usually very well informed on these matters. Most matters, for that matter. John Mendez, as you know, I mentioned, is watching. Don McIntyre is in Tonga watching. He must have a good internet connection there. Hello, Don. And Bob Schmetter, who's in Germany. Vince, it's a nice worldwide audience again today, Commodore. And Andrew Ferguson on Waiheke Island there in New Zealand is saying, it looks like ETNZ are rigging for a sail today.
Oh, good.
So there's breaking news at it's -5, so it's 08:36 now down there in the morning. So that would be interesting. Vincent McAteer, thank you for your kind comment. Will Sear, congratulations to you on your Pan Am medal. Fabian Haraldson is watching in the Scandinavian department. Galen Richardson, there's a new name. Daniel Yount, Wild Designs, talking about the America's Cup boats. Chuck Clay is watching from ABYC, Alamitos Bay Yacht Club. There's another club that I suspect would be ripe for some IC37 action, Commodore. Jeff Keller, Marcello Gervini, who's down in Sao Paulo or Rio. He's down in Brazil. Clark Chapin, the past Commodore of my home club, Phil, in Michigan, says it looks like a Canadian goose. Does that violate the made-in-country requirement in the deed of gift? Very clever, Clark.
Geese here. I don't know, Tom, as you know. So,
Tom Pace, John Mendez. Do you really think Phil will? I'm not sure what Johnny didn't finish his thought there. Jean-Pierre Mercier, okay, there's a new name as well. Hi, Jean-Pierre. The AM, the American Magic foil bulb, does not look like a goose. We see a part of the front bulb and a part of the other side of the foil. He's saying, okay, well, we'll see. Alistair McRae, Bill Allen, excuse me, former Olympic medalist. And on. Luca Rosati in Italy, Ciao Margarita, and everybody else. Lever Schuren is in the Netherlands. Lots of folks on here, Commodore. Laser just confirmed for Paris 2024. Yes, thank you for that, Jody. We knew that was coming. That's a no-brainer. One of the things that World Sailing could not mess up. Sorry, did I say that, Julia?
No, I didn't hear you. No.
Did I say that? Huh? Okay. Commodore, I'm going to wrap this up so you can go. I know you want to get down to the club and see what else is going on with the day one. At least formal day one. You had the opening ceremony last night, didn't you? Dinner and opening ceremony?
Yeah. Nice formal ceremony. Well attended. Very good.
Well, it's been quite a year. I was there for the America's Cup Gala that was hosted by Prada. When was that? In July, I guess. And under one of the big tents that then got used for your 175th gala. There were a lot of St. Francis and people from all over the world from your reciprocal clubs. Tell us a little bit about what this 175th year has been for New York Yacht Club.
Well, it's been a big year. It's been great. It's had a lot of different parts to it. There's the old part. The club embarked on a program or a project to publish 8 small books on 8 different topics around the club, including things like the race committee, history of the race committee, history of Harbor Court, history of some of the notable trophies that we have, some of the collections. So that's been a great project, and it's been supported by authors like John Ruminaire and Gary Jobson. So a lot of fun. We've had some new stuff, the IC37 showing up, and being in our regattas all summer, and now the Invitational Cup. And then we had, I think, probably the biggest event was our big party. We had 1,600 people at Harbor Court for a black tie party during the 175th regatta. A very memorable event, and it will be memorable for years to come, I'm sure. Maybe the next time an opportunity for that is the 200th. But it was great. It was one of those events where every time you turn around, even though there were 1,600 people, you knew somebody, you knew everybody who you sailed with.
Well, by all accounts, it was a who's who in the sport. And by the way, Clark Chapin has confirmed that the Askew brothers do have an entry with an IC37. He's looked at the big boat entry. By the way, the designer of the IC37 is watching, Mark Mills. Do you want to say anything nice or bad about Mark?
No, hey, Mark. I do want to, as my tip of the hat to Mark. Mark's done a great job. The IC37 came out and won its class in Cows Week this summer, so a big boost to the interest of the IC37 in the Cows area, and I'm hoping the Askews will have as good a result out in Big Boat.
Yeah, others confirming that it's Sandy Askew is listed as the owner of that boat in the Big Boat series, the IC37. Mohammed Gamal is on. Hello, Mohammed. Mike Vellucci, Andrew Bloxham. There's a new name. Todd Reynolds in Chicago is watching. Hi, Todd. Who else? Sandra Askew is listed as the owner, in fact, of that IC37. So what is her relationship to the Askew brothers? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I thought I knew, but I'm not quite sure.
Must be a sister or a wife or
yes, a
something,
wife.
spousal.
Yeah.
Stingray says, he asks, will there be a formal christening event? We don't call them christening events anymore, Stingray. We call them naming ceremonies to be
politically correct.
Well, politically correct, and I don't know. The ETNZ, Royal New Zealand, called theirs a christening ceremony. What would you call yours, Commodore?
Probably we'll call it a christening, and it's coming up. Yeah, we'll have an event.
By now it's almost ecumenical. It's a naming ceremony for a boat. Will there be a formal christening event for American Magic's B1, Boat 1?
Yes, there will be. Yeah.
Any hint on when that will be?
It's going to be coming up in the next week or so.
So pretty soon.
Yeah, pretty soon.
Jan Peter Anderson, Ferdinand Van West, Antonio Cardona, Espen, hello, and on and on and on. Thank you, Commodore, for joining us. Is there anything else for the good of the order that we ought to discuss or take up? Any other of your principals or sponsors that we should make mention of, especially while we have you? A chance to promote a little bit for the home team. I don't know how Long Beach Yacht Club is doing, and I don't know whether they're going to make it. I don't expect you to comment on it. I've been pretty tough on them, as you know, and unless and until they get a team up really and running and a boat really being built, I don't consider them as a viable team, as you know. Yeah.
No, as I said, you can imagine, Tom, you're right. We don't comment on it. We've got our head down. We're trying to stay with our program and stay to the plan and not get distracted. So that's the important.
And I think that's the right approach. I think you've got a pretty good effort, a head of steam going. You wouldn't list yourselves as the top team. I have consistently ranked New York as the top team on my list. I hear there's some internal problems with the British team. We know that Jono Macbeth was excused from, as New York Yacht Club used to say in the 12-meter trials days. Jono has been excused from further participation. From Ben Ainsley's team, Ineos Team UK, we know that the Italians have had some problems with the foil arms and the foils, but apparently after they delayed the launch of their boat from August to then early September, now to late September, but you look like you're well and truly underway and maybe are going to be the first to hoist. We'll see if the Kiwis, in fact, get under sail today, as we're hearing from Andrew Ferguson down in Auckland that they're about to. But one thing that does concern me a lot, Phil, I've been involved in the rules side of this game, and the America's Cup in particular, since 1980. And we've always had wind limits at some point in this whole exercise, and maybe not in the protocol, the so-called memorandum of agreement, the big picture rules, but in the sailing instructions when we got closer to the racing. Mm-hmm. I understand from several sources that there are no wind limits in the current America's Cup rules, and this is causing some angst among the challengers because they're expecting New Zealand to get some time with their boat and then say, well, maybe the wind limit ought to be lower because we think we're foiling in lighter conditions, or maybe we got to get the wind limit higher because we're not so good in the lighter conditions. And then, of course, that begs the question about the high-end conditions. You know how windy it can be in the Hauraki Gulf, in the immediate area. What's this whole business about the wind limits? And is this not correct? Is this not fair that there aren't wind limits yet?
I think it's true we don't know the wind limits, expecting them to come out with some other facts about the racing. And we're just trying to be prepared for all eventualities here. We've been testing and running our sailing program is on the light end and on the heavy end. So you got to be ready, I think is the word. And you're right, that's the prerogative to come out a little later than maybe you'd like, but that's part of the game, and then you got to be prepared.
Well, that's an admirable attitude. It would make me mad as hell. And I suppose there is some people behind the scenes, both at your club and in Ben's team and in the Italian team, although it's up to the Italians to, as the challenger of record, Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli, to talk the Kiwis into getting down to brass tacks on some of these things. And I, for one, hope they certainly do. And if not, here at Sailing Illustrated, will probably not have some polite things to say about that, because it's grossly unfair to all the teams not to have the ground rules, so to speak, the wind limits and the other things known well and truly in advance, because the teams now are committing B2, their designs for the second boat, at least the super teams, as I call them. They're having to commit those designs now, and if you still don't know what the wind limits are, how can you do that other than, as you say, we'll just have to try to cover all the bases?
Yeah, we can only do work on what we control and try to cover the bases, as you mentioned. Try to have a design that works across the spectrum and be ready for anything.
Okay, well, Christy Steinman Crawford is watching. Hello to Christy. She was arguably, besides Gertrude Vanderbilt, who was on the back end of Commodore Vanderbilt's J-boats in the 30s, at least some of them, was calling time and serving as kind of a strategist, timekeeper in those cup races. But Christy Steinman Crawford, who sailed with Dennis Conner on his teams in the 80s, is watching, and we want to say hi to her. And finally, John Mangino is asking Commodore, is there an official nickname yet for Boat 1?
Nothing. No, Boat 1 has been, everybody's so professional at the team. It's been Boat 1, and I haven't heard anything else at this point. We're anticipating a name, and we'll call it Boat 1 until we have one, and then I haven't heard any nicknames.
Okay, well, for the cup heads, they know that we call and have called these boats B1 and B2 since forever, and internal inside the teams. And it'll be interesting to see when that boat is commissioned, christened, named, whatever the ceremony is, whatever you want to call it, when it gets named here in due course, Julia.
I thought he was saying that the name would be One to Go.
Oh, One to Go. No, I doubt that. Commodore, anything else?
Well, Tom, you mentioned earlier to thank some of the sponsors. So if you don't mind, I'd like to take 2 seconds.
Please do.
Thank Rolex, who is presenting sponsor for the Invitational Cup. We've been mentioning the Invitational Cup without the full name, and I just want to make sure we give Rolex the recognition they're due on that. And also for the America's Cup, our Airbus and Helly Hansen and other sponsors behind them. We're very happy to have them on board, and very happy, very thankful for that.
As are we all. I mean, Rolex is one of the great sponsors in the sport, along with the former LV and now Prada and any number of others. It's nice to see Airbus stepping up to help your team, and it will be interesting to see what other sponsors you and Scott and others sign up here in the near future, along with the other teams. Okay, Commodore, thank you very much indeed. We've had you on here for 45 minutes, and I know you want to get down to the club and see the Rolex New York Yacht Club Invitational Cup. The competitors are coming in from their first day of racing. Give them all our regards, and thank you very much, sir.
All right. Thank you, Tom. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Phil. Ciao.
Yep. Bye.
Commodore Phil Lotz, of the immediate past Commodore of New York Yacht Club, longtime friend and great sailor, and his wife Wendy, both good sailors and champions of the sport, champions for the sport, and just delighted to have them on. Let's press on here with some Bravo Zulus. Congratulations to the J70 Worlds winners. We followed this regatta. I haven't seen a wrap-up video from them yet, from the Royal Torbay Yacht Club in Torquay in the UK, but the winner, I'm reliably informed this morning, is Eat, Sleep, J Repeat. That team has won the Open Division. Paul Ward, Charlie Cumbly, I don't know how to pronounce Mr. Scott's first name, and Mario Trindade. Congrats to them on winning the Open Division at the J70 Worlds. And then the Corinthian Division champs are Marshall King, Ian Wilson, Andrew Sharrock, and Adam Brushett, I think, from Ireland. That other team is from the UK. This team from Ireland, or from GBR, and this team representing Ireland. Congrats to them. It's nice that the J70 class, as do a lot of these classes now that are Pro-Am, run a professional or an open division. It's open to pros, obviously, and the J70 class is increasingly professional with each passing year or so, it seems, and therefore expensive to sail, unfortunately. And I think that's one of the good things about what Commodore Lotz and Co. are doing with the New York Yacht Club's IC37 by keeping it Corinthian, keeping it Category 1 under our Pro-Am code. It really cuts costs down because the owners, the skippers, the team captains don't have to go out and have big pay. In fact, can't have big payrolls to support their teams. So nice work to this Corinthian team. We like to always celebrate the Corinthian winners at these World Championships where they have such divisions, and we encourage clubs and classes to do that. Here's another cool event that's going on. This is the Laser Masters taking place in the Netherlands. We've got several FOSI, Friends of Sailing Illustrated, who are sailing in this event. I think it's called Port Zeelanda in the Netherlands. 306 entries in the Laser Masters Worlds from 27 countries, and leading in the laser radials, both lasers and laser radials, leading in the apprentice class, which means 35 to 45, they call them apprentices, is our own John Emmett. FOSI John Emmett is leading. Congrats to him. And he's had, I think, 3 bullets in 2 seconds from memory.
Good for him.
I glanced, Julia, early this morning, I glanced at the leaderboard. And, you know, he's on here all the time.
Yeah.
He may even be on now. And
I haven't seen him.
But what a great...
He's busy.
He's busy. What a great job he's doing. And I know that Peter Stevenson, Pedro Foiling Sailor, is also racing down there, but I couldn't find him in the standings. There is a William Stevenson, and perhaps that is he who is racing down there. Okay, that about wraps it up for us this week. The Rolex in New York Yacht Club Invitational Cup on the East Coast here in this country. There's a lot of action around the world, as you know, but in particularly a big week here in the U.S. with Rolex bookending senior series events on both coasts. Starting Thursday here in San Francisco is the Rolex Big Boat Series. This beautiful shot, another beautiful shot by our longtime friend, Daniel Forster, who lives in Newport. It's probably there covering the Invitational Cup now. I'm sure he will be out here to cover the Rolex Big Boat Series here at St. Francis Yacht Club, which starts on Thursday and runs through Sunday. And we're going to help them do a little live streaming as well, including the prize giving, from what I'm hearing, Julia. Julia, anything else to announce?
No.
No other hot tips?
Not for air.
Not for air? Okay. Okay, that does it for us. Thank you all for joining us. Hope you will have a good rest of your week. Thanks to everybody who gave us photos and videos for today's show. Thanks again to Commodore Phil Lotz, who joined us live via Skype from Newport, Rhode Island. And best wishes to all of you for a great week of racing wherever in the world you are. Hope to see you on Friday when we'll do this again. TFE Live. Every Tuesdays and Fridays now at 1300, as you've been doing that for some time, 1300 Pacific. And then, of course, you can watch replay here as well. Julia, we didn't say our quick thingy do's here.
Yes.
You want to start?
Okay. Please like, share, and subscribe to us, especially share.
Yeah, the sharing really helps. You push the share button on your Facebook page, and it shares it, and we really appreciate that. Likewise, if you want to become a patron of SailingIllustrated.com, this is viewer and reader-supported journalism. SailingIllustrated.com, you can go over there and join us via Patreon as a patron. Some people give us $1 a month, some 10, some 1,000 a month, believe it or not. We really, really appreciate the support. Hope to see you on Friday. In the meantime, sail fast, sail safe, have fun. Ciao. Bye.